You're listening to Hockey Talk on the Rock
Alright, stop!
with Laura and Keith.
It's interesting.
So let's back up a second.
He played absolutely out of his mind.
It made no sense to me.
And now, here are your hosts.
Alrighty,
we are back. Hockey Talk on the Rock after a 2-week break.
Woot woot!
Episode 10. We're in double digits.
Double digits, it feels good.
It's a milestone day for us.
Yeah, I feel like there hasn't been a lot, we were just talking about it, of news over the last 2 weeks. A little bit of chatter about when the NHL is going to start again, and it looks like it's going to be the beginning of January. And yeah, I was just saying, I think because the NBA has solidified that December 22nd start, then the NHL should be in good shape to start January 1 or January 10. And obviously, if they could, I don't think they're going to do their normal, obviously, Winter Classic. But if they could start with something outside, it would be kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. I've heard them talk about Lake Louise, but that's a whole national park thing.
Yeah, it doesn't look like Lake Louise is going to happen. But I mean, something along those lines would be really sick, right? Yeah. You can't get fans there, but make it something special, kick off the season, and then hopefully we get to play a full, well, not full, but
56 to 72 games.
Somewhat full season without any interruption.
Sounds like mini hubs to start, too.
Yeah, and it looks like the all-Canadian division is going to be a thing for the beginning anyway.
Yeah, that'll be exciting.
You're repping your Nordiques jersey there.
I am, trying to switch it up ever since, I wore Tampa, I guess, for the first few with the playoffs.
With the playoffs.
Yeah, I like the Nordiques jersey, and it's a good segue into like the reverse retro jerseys they've kind of been leaking out. Yeah, so it's a good way for them to make extra money when they're obviously not making money, I guess. For sure. I hope the Avalanche do a
Nordiques.
Yeah,
I think they will. I mean, it looks like Carolina's going to do another Hartford throwback, so that's kind of in the same vein. They're not the Whalers, but they are the team that came from the Whalers. Same with Nordiques to Colorado. And obviously there's a lot of hard feelings when they moved to Colorado, but I feel like there's been enough time now. The Nordiques have sweet jerseys, as you can see. Let's bring it back. It's just going to be for a few games. Who really cares kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so.
And I saw the Canucks, the one they hinted is going to be like the 2001 retro.
I actually really like it because I think it's so disgusting. It's nice. And I did like the gradient. It's like, the gradient changing, but it's going to be blue and green instead of the red and blue, which really, why was it ever red and blue? So I think this one is nicer. But
I was really hoping for a green and blue flying V myself.
That would be sweet.
I thought it would be cool, but,
yeah.
One day.
I honestly really just want a green Canucks jersey, like really basic. I would have been happy with just green with the Orca.
You want that for St. Patty's Day?
I think it would be just sweet to have a green Canucks jersey. But yeah, St. Patty's Day.
No, I hear you. I have a Hartford jersey hanging up, and I like the green.
I think there's a lack of green in the NHL.
No, we touched on that. I think a little bit with the Seattle jerseys.
Yeah.
So I feel like they blew it without the green, but.
Me too. I was really hoping that it would almost be reverse Canuck colors, so all green with a bit of blue, and then I think that rivalry would have already been set up. Really nice, but
for sure. And it will likely affect my bank account because, as you've seen with my man cave, I have a bunch of jerseys and I kind of have a weakness there, so I'll probably end up getting one or two.
I assume I will as well. Anyway. Alright, so moving in, do you have a bit of RFA signing news that you want to go over?
For the last 2 weeks, there hasn't been a lot, like you touched on, no trades, so we can't do our sweep segment, but, what do I got? Dominic Cahoon, I thought, was one of the most interesting UFA ones, because not many UFAs signed in the last 2 weeks. He went to Edmonton for less than $1 million, just barely, and he has a history of playing with Draisaitl. I didn't realize he was a German player. And what I look at, when they were 16, he put up 206 points in 30 games playing with Draisaitl. Yep. Which, the competition was pretty lackluster, I'm certain, but it's still pretty insane numbers nonetheless. So he had good numbers with Pittsburgh and Buffalo last year with 31 points in 56 games, and a little bit up from 37 and 82 the year before. So it could work out pretty well for Edmonton. It could be, looked at next year as one of the biggest steals of the offseason.
I think it was a good signing. Again, basically no risk, and like you said, there's the history with Draisaitl and him there. The only thing I'll say is, I think fans in general get really excited when they see players that played well with big players in junior, or in this case Europe. And I can kind of think of like the Elias Pettersson, Dahlin thing in Vancouver, where people were so hot on Dahlin.
Yeah.
And then, or Jonathan Dahlin, sorry. And then he just didn't pan out. And when he was traded, people had a mental breakdown. But he really hasn't amounted to anything.
No.
I will say Cahoon obviously is a bit better because he's in the NHL.
Yeah.
So that's a better start. It'll be interesting to see like where he fits into their lineup, because he has shown that chemistry with Draisaitl, if they give that a shot, or if they keep the line with Draisaitl, Yamamoto, and Nugent Hopkins together. That was really good. But I think, yeah, good move, good signing for Edmonton, and probably a good signing for the player too.
Yeah. Surprising with those stats that it was
less than $1 million. Yeah, it's just 2020. I feel like for them, and then he'll get another shot at it. It's just a year, right?
It is just a year.
Yeah. So
And he could be one of those players that cashes in and then gets a big deal next year, probably somewhere else.
gets the big bucks. Yeah.
Yeah. Next up, I had Anthony Mantha re-upping in Detroit.
Yep.
I loved the signing myself.
Yeah.
4 years was a good term for him. 5.7 per.
Yep.
He's been trajectorying up, I guess you could say. He had 24 and 25 goals 2 and 3 years ago. Last year in the shortened season, he had 16, 38 points, but only 43 games played because I guess he was hurt a little bit.
Yes.
Stevie Y he's that hardball GM, like I wrote down. He's like the anti-Dubas.
Yeah, for
Dubas
sure.
is willing to pay the marquee players and they deserve it, market value and all that, and Stevie Y is like, no way.
You're not getting it.
Yeah.
Either take this or get out.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I thought that was a great signing for Detroit as well.
Ryan Pulock re-upped in the Islanders. I'm going to come back to the Islanders.
Yes.
So I went down a bit of a rabbit hole there. They've only got $3.9 million left now in the cap, and they haven't signed Barzal. But back to Pulock, 2 years, $5 million. 32, 37, 35 points the last 3 years. He seems like a solid D-man, and they needed to lock him up after trading Devon Taves.
Yep. And again, they were basically forced into trading Taves because of their cap situation, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I think Pulock's been good for them, and yeah, I think that's a fair deal, basically, for the circumstance.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
2 years, not long term. I'll come back to this player in another segment here later, but
Okay.
Ryan Strome
Yes.
re-upped with New York. I saw the team was asking for 3.5 and he was asking for 5.5, and what do you end up getting, like 4.7 or something like that? Or,
yeah.
so they met in the middle. It makes sense. He did have a bit of a breakout year, and Brendan Lemieux also re-upped, and I didn't see his numbers. I don't know why they weren't up.
They weren't 2. I know he was asking for 2. And I can't remember how much it was now, so this isn't great, but it was below 2.
Yeah, I was at high hopes. I kind of liked him when he got drafted and thought he was going to be a good player, but he seems too angry, or kind of flies off the handle a little bit too easily. I kind of remember when he got the 5-minute major and misconduct for wrecking Roussel's knee, but he didn't actually even touch him. But just seeing the way he was losing it all the way out the tunnel, just doesn't seem like a good type of character guy.
Yeah, he's an interesting one because I feel like in today's NHL there isn't that many of those characters left, and so teams kind of want them, but they don't want them to cross the line. But I think that's what you're getting. Again, you can think almost like a Tom Wilson, but not quite, right? He's not quite as dirty on the ice, but he kind of loses his temper style. He's a bit of a throwback, I guess.
Makes sense with who his dad is, I
guess.
guess.
Exactly. Yeah. But anyway, I guess it's a good. New York seems to like him right now, so keep him there for a bit.
Yeah, young guys, both young guys.
Yeah.
Strome, I think, is 27, and Lemieux's younger.
Yeah, it's funny because for the section that I'll come back to Strome too for one of the sections that I was gonna talk about because I thought about him a lot.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway.
Hopping back into the UFAs, it's a minor one, but I had Marco Dano going back to the Jets on a really cheap deal.
Yeah.
And the only reason I bring that up is because it seems like since he was acquired from Chicago, it just seems like this type of it's like watching your friend and a girlfriend in a bad relationship where they just really want to make it work, but you can see it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And, he had some promise as a rookie with Columbus with 21 points in 35 games, but that was back 2014, 2015, and then since then, his best season since was with Winnipeg, but it was 11 points in 38 games.
Yeah.
And it just seems like maybe he's one of those players that early in his career trade just kind of rattled him.
Yep.
And he never really recovered. So I liked him when he was younger with the Jets the first time, and I kind of have hopes that maybe it'll work out for him. But
Yeah, who knows?
one of those things to keep an eye on.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe it'll be a smart signing.
Maybe. I got questions for you on the next one because I saw that RFA D-man Gavrikov re-signed in Columbus.
Yes.
3 years at 2.8.
Yes.
I don't know if I'd ever heard of him before reading the re-signing list today. So I looked up his stats and he was a 24-year-old rookie last year, 18 points, 69. They're deep on the blue line. So 2.8 for 3 years is not bad for a depth signing or whatever.
And Columbus has money right now.
Is he good?
I think Gavrikov they have high hopes for. I haven't paid a whole bunch of attention to him, but I have seen his name out there. So again, Columbus is so deep on the blue line, it could be one of those situations where he plays good because he's in sheltered minutes.
Right. In a defensive style team.
Yeah. But I think he had a pretty strong season. Yeah.
Yeah. Low risk. Sure. Good signing, I guess. Someone we've talked about in the past on our trade speculation stuff is Mackenzie Weegar.
Yes.
Finally re-upped in Florida, 3 years, $3.25 million. He was heavily rumored to be traded despite Florida's desperate need for defense, which was kind of weird. But the trade offers or whatever must have been weak for him or something like that. So does this mean he's off the trade board now, or is now he's got a deal? Maybe it's easier because they know what they're getting with him?
I don't think he's off the trade block yet, but I also have no idea what Florida is doing.
Yeah.
And they're one of those teams that I can never predict, so maybe.
Right.
But I think that there's still probably a market out there for him if they want to explore trading him.
Yeah.
Which again, I don't really understand. He seems to be a decent defenseman, and they need D-men.
Yeah, on a shitty team last year, he was a +6, which a lot of people say the plus-minus stats are relevant or whatever, but
when you're plus, I think when you're plus is better than when you're minus, obviously.
Yeah, I think it holds a little bit of value, but he's still only 26, so good for Florida, I guess, unless they trade him.
Yeah.
Save the most awesome name for last, with Rupe Hintz.
Yes,
signing for 3 years, 3.15 in Big D. I watched him in the playoffs, not this year, but last year, and he had a solid little playoffs, and it kind of looked like one of those guys that'll have a decent year, but then he'll be more valuable in the playoffs for you.
Yeah.
So I did look at his stats. He only had 2 goals and 13 points in the 25 games this playoff run, which is not great. Good. But he's young.
Yeah.
And you would have expected more from 5 goals, 8 points, and 13 the year before.
Yeah.
But they did add a lot of depth players.
Gurianov
they had Gurianov, and they had Pavelski come in, and they had Corey Perry come in, and they were kind of the playoff guys they kind of leaned on a little more than the young guys. So
for sure.
I think Hintz is going to be a good player. I think Jim Nill did a great job both signing him and Gurianov to good.
Yeah, they seem team friendly.
Deals.
Yeah.
And they're going to get paid, I think, but we'll see.
I think so, and I think that with Rupe Hintz, it almost feels like Gurianov took his spot more than anything this year, as kind of the up and coming young player in Dallas.
Yep.
But I still think that Rupe Hintz will be a good, if not top 6 forward, he can play on your third line and chip in, and like you say, he might be one of those guys who can play in big games. Maybe this year, I don't know, something happened, but that first playoff run looked really promising.
It did, so
who knows? Maybe he'll get it back. So I think it's good.
Good signing. That's all I really took. There was a few other minor signings that I didn't really feel like going through, so if you had any to throw in.
I don't have any right now.
Okay.
I think you covered most of those.
So I did want to quickly circle back to what we were talking about briefly with Ryan Pulak and the Islanders and their cap situation. I mentioned that with him signing, they've only got $3.9 million left on the cap. They don't need to sign anybody except Matthew Barzal, and that's saying something big actually, because he's probably their best player.
Yeah.
He is an RFA. I read a little bit how they're trying to lock him up to a short-term bridge deal to get through this kind of mess, but I mean, what I read was 3 years at 6.6 is kind of like the rumors.
Yeah.
So they're still going to be quite a bit over the cap. And so I was like, well, they've got tradable players, don't they? And so I kind of looked, and for them, ideally, they would trade Andrew Ladd, but no chance.
No.
Right? He's 34, 3 years left at 5.5 mil, and he only played 4 games last year, right?
Well, that was the weird one that almost happened at the trade deadline, right? Was the Zach Parisi for Andrew Ladd, and it almost happened, but I don't think that would have actually helped the Islanders out, as you say.
In terms of cap, because
yeah.
Parisi makes more. I mean, he's a better player.
But anyway, that would have been a really weird trade, but it didn't happen. So
yeah, I mean, they're not going to trade Ladd, and then it's like, for them, who else would they want to get rid of? Well, Johnny Boychuk, but again, he's 36. He's got 2 more years at 6 mil. There's no chance.
Yeah.
No one's going to take that, right? So I was trying to convince myself who is a legitimate trade piece that they could get rid of that would get them under the cap or save them some money. And I think I concluded that Josh Bailey.
I was just going to say Bailey.
Would be the top one. Like, he is 31, but he's only 31, comparable to the other two.
He also had a really good playoffs this year, and I only know that because I was looking up stats for our next section before, and he was one of those guys that I got, like, really, surprised by how well he played in the playoffs. He put up quite a few points, and he scored some big goals for the Islanders, so I feel like there would be a market for him if they wanted to move him.
Yeah, it's true. And I think this is the time to do it because he does have 4 years left at 5 mil.
Right.
So,
yeah,
the longer you wait, it's going to be harder to move, and he's not going to get better. And I mean, I looked at his stats, and what was it? He's still doing well, right? He had 43 and 68 last year, 56 and 82 the year before, and then 71 and 76 the year before that. So you can kind of see the decline.
Starting.
But he's never, like, his career high is 18 goals. Like, he's a playmaking winger, and that's kind of a niche role that a lot of teams like to think that they want to fill. So, yeah, like I said, I concluded that if they're going to do something, I feel like that's the one they're going to have to do, especially with the expansion draft coming up. They'd be likely to lose him, I think, in that anyways.
Yeah. The only other one I can think of is possibly Eberle. But I know he just re-signed last year.
That was my other conclusion as well, but I think he just re-signed this last year, so that'd be really weird.
It would be weird, but I think people would value what Eberle brings. I don't know. Anyway, so those are the only two. The only other thing I was going to say about the Islanders, with Barzal in particular, is, he has, basically being the player that he is in New York, I would say he scores, 20 points fewer a season than he could if he played in a different system.
Oh, for sure.
And you wonder if he's going to be willing to take, if it's 6.6, to me that's pretty low for Barzal for what he can bring. And I almost wonder if he'll take it when he's like, well, I already am giving up my offensive potential for playing for this team. And again, maybe it gets resolved because he wants to play, but it's one of those things that if it starts January 1 or January 10, they better make a move soon.
Pretty soon.
Yeah,
because
otherwise...
like we were talking about, the camps will probably start in a month from now at that point.
Yeah, and I don't think you want to miss any time this year.
No.
Because of how fast it's going to go, and if you have to catch up, I don't think it's going to put you in a good spot. So, anyway, it'll be interesting to see what they do. They're a team to watch for sure.
Totally. And I mean, from the flip side of things, I'll just quickly throw in there that he's a great player, and I took him way too high in my hockey pool last year because I think he has a lot more potential to get points if he was elsewhere, like you say.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, they're gonna say,
we don't.
Well, look at Nathan McKinnon and how much he's making.
Yeah.
And look at Mark Scheifele and how much he's making. And they're gonna have these comparables of these guys who on their first deal
didn't take as much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I also don't think Lou's going to be the kind of GM that you can play hardball with a little bit in the Stevie Y, type mold.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Anyways, that's my Islanders
scoop for the day.
Well, I guess so.
We like it. Hot takes for the Islanders.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so we did a little kind of game. I don't know. You did a reflection and I did predictions.
Yeah, I mean, I've always really liked the idea of adding more NHL awards, and in particular, like we talked about earlier today, having a breakout player of the year award and a comeback player of the year award. And I think they do both of those in NBA and baseball. Maybe it's just the comeback player or the most improved player or something like that. But I like the idea of it. So, and you're gonna do predictions
I'm
on those
gonna
two
do
things?
prediction on those two, and then I have one other group, which is players that I don't think will score as many goals as they did or points as they did last year.
The
So
unsustainable.
kind of
group.
unsustainable or on the decline group.
Okay. Well, how do you want to run this?
I think maybe you do the reflection first, and
Okay.
then I'll do the prediction or whatever.
Sure. Okay. So, I'll start with the one on the top of the page.
Okay.
The breakout player.
Yes.
At first, I was convinced it was going to be Savannah Jad, and no, it would have been last year that
Yep.
he would have got that because he went from 47 and 72 to 74 and 82, and then this year he went off big time.
Yep.
But in 2019-2020, I could only narrow it down to 4 people who I thought would be good candidates for the breakout player of the year.
Yes.
I had JT Miller from the Canucks.
Yes.
I had Andrei Svechnikov
Yep.
from the Hurricanes, Kevin Fiala from
Yep.
the Wild, and Tony DeAngelo, as much as I hate the Rangers,
Yes.
from the Rangers.
Yeah.
So it was tough because they all had pretty good years compared to last year, and then when I looked at like their career bests as well, they were all exceptionally higher than their career best. So when I narrowed it down at the end, I said a tough pick, but I think I'd give it to Miller or Svechnikov.
Yep.
Probably Miller because he's a bit older, and Svechnikov was as a rookie last year.
Yep.
But yeah, Miller went to 1.04 points per game this year with the Canucks after his career best was 0.68, which is a giant leap, and last year it was 0.63. So I think, JT Miller proved his worth, and that trade looks really great, and the numbers show that he certainly broke out this year.
Yeah, and he also led the Canucks in scoring, which is another thing I think is kind of important because they do have Patterson and all these young dynamic forwards, but this year it was JT Miller that led the way, and he was consistently good like all year. I can't really think of any time where he had a prolonged dip in play.
Yeah, for sure. Sidebar, I threw in a couple goalie considerations.
Yeah.
Did you find it difficult to throw goalies into
Goalies
these
are
things?
hard.
Yeah.
I think I only might have one. I don't know if I have more than one.
I had to go back at the end, and I was like, goalies. And I was like, oh man, this is way harder.
It's
But,
almost hard even for Demon.
yeah, I took D'Angelo in
yeah.
because he was kind of the asterisk,
Yep.
It was quite the jump for him, but there was very few in the defense world. For goalies, for breakout player, I had Hart, but he's kind of the same thing as Svechnikov.
Yep.
His rookie year was last year, and so it was his first real
Kick of the can.
sophomore year. And then I had Khudobin as a breakout player.
Yeah.
That's more in the bubble, I guess, but like his numbers throughout the season were
They're
pretty
good.
good. And I don't know if Kemper would be a breakout player because I feel like he's had a breakout year before.
He's been good for a few years now, yeah.
Yeah, so
But he was really good this year.
they were my afterthoughts on the breakout player.
Yes.
So do you want to
I'll
talk
do
about
my
your
breakout
breakouts moving
for
forward?
this year.
Okay.
Alrighty, so I did a list of 10, and I tried to make it so it wasn't all players that were rookies this year and then like their sophomore year will be big.
Right.
There's a few that are like that.
Okay.
So I starting off with Kyler Yamamoto because I think that playing a full year with Draisaitl on the wing is going to do big things for him.
Okay.
And yeah, I think scoring wise, Edmonton is going to be fine. I think Yamamoto, I think he had like 26 points or something this year, but he didn't play the full year, right?
Right. He came up late.
He came up late.
Yeah.
I didn't write down his numbers, but I'm pretty sure it was 20 something. Anyway, so that's my first one.
Yep.
My second player is biased, but it is Elias Pettersson.
Okay.
And it's because I think that this is the year that he's going to just go off. I think he's going to be in the top 10 for scoring in the NHL. I think he's going to get close to 100 points. I really think that this is the year, though obviously it's going to be shortened, so, points per game kind of thing. But I think that he's going to kind of prove that he's one of the top players in the league. So
100% agreed with you there.
there we go. My third player is from Calgary, and it is Dylan Dubé.
We're doing a Canadian feature to start off here.
I also tried really hard to spread around my picks.
Okay.
Because I was trying not to focus too much on one team, but there is repeats. So,
Okay.
Anyway, this one is Dylan Dubé. He didn't have a great first couple of years with Calgary. This season, he put up 16 points in 45 games. That's kind of meh. But in the playoffs, he looked like one of the Flames' best players. He had 5 points in 10 games, which was much better. And he was just overall more noticeable. So I think this is the year that he's going to consistently put up some points. Also, Calgary has made some improvements overall to the team. So I feel like someone's going to benefit from that kind of thing.
Okay.
Anyway, fourth one, I have Kirby Doc, and this is when I was getting in. There's two here in a row where I was kind of like, it's two rookie becoming sophomore.
Yeah.
But again, it's to do with how they played in the bubble. So like Kirby Doc in the bubble was way better than he ever was.
Okay.
During the first part of the season. But yeah, he had 23 points in 64 games before the return to play, and then he looked really good. Like, again, one of Chicago's best players. And then the fifth and final one in this category is Nick Suzuki, and I tried to not include him, but he's one of those players that, again, in the return to play looked so good that it's like, okay, if he can keep anything close to that up, he's going to have a monster year. Montreal's also improved quite a lot, and I think
Montreal's banking on him stepping up. You saw when they traded Domi kind of thing.
Exactly. So he'll have Domi and then Philip Deneau as kind of your top two. Sorry, not Domi, Suzuki, and then Philip Deneau as your top two centers there. And I think that he will play much better.
You don't think Kotkaniemi is going to be one of the top two?
I think I'll kind of come back to that because I have it in one of the later sections. Okay. It's not directly about Kotkaniemi, but it is reflecting him. And I do think that, yes.
Okay.
So number 6, I have Owen Tippett, who hasn't really played in Florida.
Okay.
And he hasn't really played in the NHL yet, but this year Florida got rid of basically all their wingers in the top 6, so I think that they're banking on Tippett being ready to play top 6 minutes. You think of Barkov, you think of Huberdeau, who are both excellent players. If he can basically keep his stick on the ice and direct pucks into the net, he will probably put up some points.
Okay.
I think he could be surprising.
Maybe a sleeper pick in the pool type thing.
Yeah. Okay. And then number 7, I have from New Jersey, Nico Hischier.
Okay.
And this is his 5th year in the NHL.
Wow, already.
He's been somewhat disappointing as a first overall pick. I don't think he's going to get, 80, 90 points or anything, but I think maybe 60. Like, his highest point total right now was 52. Oh, okay. So it wouldn't be a huge jump, but like somewhere between 60 and 70, someone on New Jersey is going to have to score goals. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those cases where I just think maybe he's getting it. And
yeah, I almost had Nikita Gusev as one of my breakout players, but then I realized that he was a 28-year-old rookie, so
yeah,
you can't really, I guess, can you break out as a rookie? I don't know.
All right, I've got 3 more. So number 8, I have Anthony Cirelli. And again, this is just because of the playoffs, basically. But overall, this year he played pretty good.
Yep.
Also, Tampa's going to have to get rid of someone for cap reasons, and so I think Cirelli's going to get more of an opportunity when they get rid of whoever they get rid of.
Yeah, he's another one I almost had in the breakout player, but his stat line's pretty consistent.
It's pretty consistent,
years,
yeah.
So I didn't think he broke out
necessarily. And then number 9, I have Robert Thomas from St. Louis.
Oh, yeah.
So this is going to be his 3rd season. And last year he put up 10 goals, 42 points. I think he can probably get, again, between 50, 60 points, maybe 60, 70. Who knows?
Big kid with a lot of potential.
He showed a lot of potential, especially in that for like the cup run last year, right? So, maybe.
Yeah, I buy that.
And then the last one that I have here is Rasmus Dahlin.
Okay.
And that's because I feel like he gets forgotten about a lot in kind of the up-and-coming young demon core. Now, this is one where the plus-minus thing does stand out a lot. Because I was looking at his stats, and they aren't bad. I think he's got around 40 points each year. Which for demons, pretty good.
Yeah.
But he was minus 26 this year.
Yeah.
So,
on a bad team.
He's on a bad team. How much that really matters, but I feel like when you're in the minus 20s, it probably does reflect somewhat your play.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I think that he's going to be one of those guys that this year he starts kind of stepping into that conversation of being one of the better demon in the NHL. So, try to throw out some more riskier ones.
Sure. So that's your breakout picks
That's
for
my
next
breakout
year.
picks for next year.
Okay.
Hopefully I didn't just delete my other stuff.
So we'll hop into the comeback player of the year category. And again, like Zibanejad in the breakout player of the year, I was convinced at the beginning, like, oh yeah, Thomas Tatar, for sure, but it was last year. So in 18-19, I think he would have got comeback player of the year because he had 37 points in 64 games in his Vegas Detroit year.
Right.
But then he had 58 and 80 with Montreal, and then 61 and 68 with Montreal again this year.
Yes.
So not this year, but anyways, moving on. For 2019-2020, again, I had 4 people I kind of narrowed down to who I thought would be like the comeback player of the year. I had Max Pacioretty.
Yes.
He went to 66 points in 71 games this year, which was up from 40 in 66, which was considerably down for him. His best was 67 in 80, so it was like his best ever, actually. And then I had Ryan Strome. We talked about him earlier. He had 59 in 70 this past year with the Rangers, up from 35 in 81. And his career best was 50 in 81. So again, he had his best career year after having some down years, because his best was in 2014, 2015.
Yep.
Same with Pacioretty. His best was 2014, 2015. So kind of surprising that they, after a few down years, now they've got their career best. But and then the two
Good situations too for both those players.
Yeah, and then the two that I had a hard time deciding who I'd actually give the award to were Andre Burakovsky.
Yep.
He had 45 and 58 for Colorado after he was pretty much written off in Washington.
Mm-hmm.
He had 25 and 76 the year before, and his career best was 35 and 64, so he had a career year. And ultimately, I gave the Comeback Player of the Year award to, no bias here, Tanner Pearson.
Nice, I
of
like
the
it.
Vancouver Canucks, because he had 45 and 58 with the Canucks, which was up from 27 and 80, which was a considerable jump. And his career best was only 44 and 80.
I didn't know that.
So yeah, his points per game went up by 0.23 from career best to this season. So he had a career best this past year, and it was 2016, 2017 was his previous career best. So it was nice to see him bounce back playing with Bo, and I would have given him the Comeback Player of the Year award.
I also think with Pearson, right, like it almost started the year that he was traded to the Canucks, so not last year but the year before at the deadline, where he just seemed to play so much better in Vancouver than he had anywhere else really since LA, right?
Yeah.
Than early in his career in LA. But yeah, no, he's been a good he's been a good second line player for the Canucks, and
DP70, Comeback Player of the Year.
Comeback Player and Breakout Player of the Year. The Canucks are owning all the awards.
There you go. Goalie considerations, again, I threw in a couple at the end.
Yeah.
I had Varlamov, I guess, as a Comeback Player of the Year, because he was supposed to be good at one point, and then went to Colorado and he was okay, and then he had a good year in the Island.
Yeah, he looked good.
Corey Crawford I threw in there.
He
was supposed to be written off with injury, and he had a decent year for Chicago.
Especially in the return. In the bubble, he looked good.
And then Cam Talbot, I said he was kind of a comeback player because I kind of had him written off.
Yeah.
And he did okay.
He did fine, yeah.
So.
Alrighty.
That was my
okay,
review.
it's interesting because there's some in the bounce back there, and I guess I'll just say it now. Like Ryan Strome, I really thought about including him in my can't repeat category, but then I was thinking about it and I was like, but New York has gotten better. And realistically, if he plays second line center on that team, he's going to be playing with good forwards, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I think he's probably going to keep it up unless something dramatically happens to him.
I mean,
but
I hate the Rangers, so I've said it a couple times, I feel like, but I would be happy to see him fall back, but I don't know if he will.
And then the other one I actually thought about was Miller, because I thought, that was such a good season, but it was almost like everything went perfect for him. But I also feel like the Canucks, I think because Pettersson is getting better, he's going to improve players around him. So even if he doesn't get exactly the same amount of points, I don't think it's going to be a dramatic decrease. Anyway, those were kind of my considerations. And then, I thought about Pacioretty. I was like, can he repeat what he did in Vegas this year? But I think he probably can. He's given the opportunity. He plays on that top line.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's kind of my spoilers. But I'll do my actual bounce back players that I think for this coming year.
Okay.
And bounce back players I had a hard time with as well, because I feel like you get kind of sucked into people that fans talk about having really shitty years, and then you look at your numbers or their numbers and they're actually not that bad.
Right.
But anyway, just keep that in mind here.
Okay.
So my number one I have is Alex DeBrincat. It's only been his third year in the NHL last year, but he had his lowest point and goal totals last year. Chicago is not going to be a good team, but I think DeBrincat is going to play big minutes. He'll get every opportunity to score. He's got too good a shot to not score 30 goals a year. I think he'll probably do
I can see that for sure.
Yeah. Number two I have, and this is a bit of a hot take, is Erik Karlsson.
He's going to bounce back with all the rest.
I think so. I think he's had a full year off. This is really going to be his first chance of being healthy in San Jose. He's one of those players, though, that when you look at his stats, in San Jose, it's actually not that bad. Again, this year and last year, he played around 50 games, and he put up around 40 points both times. Like, it was over 40.
Right.
So you look at that as a demon, and you're like, well, that's actually pretty good. But I
compare
know
it to his best years.
it's not.
Yeah.
So I don't think he'll ever be the level he was, but I don't think he'll look as bad as he has in the last two. I think he'll have a strong season this year.
Okay.
Number 3, and this is another one of those guys, is Patrick Laine.
Okay.
And he did have 63 points in 68 games this year. So again,
That's
pretty good.
Yeah.
But he only scored 28 goals. I think this year, as we've talked about before, he's going to be reunited with Paul Stastny. And he's also going to be motivated to be a top-line player in Winnipeg. Like, that's what he wants, right?
Yeah.
If he doesn't get traded, which evidently he also wants. But I think because he's motivated to either move or show that he can play on that top line, he's going to be scoring a lot of goals. I also think, much like the next player on this list, while he was a good goal scorer before, this year he kind of learned how to play different areas of the game, and this next year he's going to tie it all together and come up big. But yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, number 4, the bias pick. Brock Besser.
I was going to bring up Brock Besser while you were talking Patrick Laine, but I figured I wouldn't.
Well, I figured they're so close, right? Like, you know, this year Besser had 45 points in 57 games. Not quite as good as Laine. And only 16 of them were goals. I think this is the year he's going to score at that 30-goal pace again, because it's not going to be a full year. I don't know if he actually gets there, but
right.
I think he's, like Laine, like DeBrincat, has too good of a shot to not score goals.
Yeah.
I think that he's figuring out how to play the game in different ways, and again, like Laine, he's going to put it together this year. And with Petey leading the way, they're all going to be.
Yeah, and I mean, with Toffoli leaving town too, he's like the bona fide top line winger too.
Yeah, unless they try to do something with Virtanen and then drop him to Bowen Pearson's line. But even then, you're playing with good players, so you're getting an opportunity. Okay, number 5, I have my only goalie, and that is Sergei Bobrovsky. And I just said there's no way he can be that bad again. But I don't know. It's one of those ones where we'll see.
Well, like you said, what is Florida doing? We'll see.
We'll see. Number 6, Alex Galchenyuk. We've talked about it here before.
Oh, okay.
I think that playing in Ottawa, he's going to be the Duclair of this year. He'll get those top 6 opportunities, and he'll score some goals. He's only hit the 30-goal mark once and the 50-point mark twice. I think he can probably get to around 50 points. I'm not going to say 30 goals, but if he plays on those top 2 lines in Ottawa, we'll see.
Yeah, it seems like they'll give him every opportunity to be on those top 2 lines.
He showed that he had skill young in his career, so it's there. Anyway, number 7, I have John Tavares, and this is another one where I don't actually think he had that bad of a season last year, but people like to complain.
Yeah.
And it's because he only had 26 goals this year, which I say only, but that's still pretty good.
Yeah.
But the first year in Toronto, he had 41 or something crazy. So I think he's, Toronto's a team that can score goals, and we know that, and they're going to score goals. So if he plays with Marner, which is what they seem to like to do, and Marner's more of the center, and Tavares is more of the traditional winger in the sense that he's going to be the finisher, and then Marner's going to set him up. I think he can probably get back, 30, I'll say at least 30 goal pace, maybe 40 goal pace, we'll see.
But he is the centerman though, right?
He is the centerman, yeah.
But you mean just in the sense of who puts the puck in the net? Gotcha, okay.
Evidently that was one of the selling reasons for him to come to Toronto, was to play with Marner because of their style of play fitting so nicely together.
Yeah, I did see his stats too, and I was surprised that he wasn't, top 10 or whatever, or top 20 even, I don't think.
No, but he wasn't bad.
He wasn't bad.
That's the thing, right?
For how much he's making, he's probably in the top 10 in pay.
Yeah, right? For sure. Alrighty, so number 8, I have Taylor Hall, and this is kind of a cheating one because I put 2 Buffalo players together here because I had to, and then I thought that, okay, there's way too much Buffalo. But I think Hall, he did not really play well this year in New Jersey or in Arizona. He only had 16 goals and 52 points, which again, 52 points isn't bad. But he's going to be playing with Eichel. and he's going to be playing for his old coach, who he evidently loved. I think those two things are both going in his favor. And I also think that that's going to affect Skinner, who only had 23 points last year, and I don't think there's any way that he can play that bad again.
Yeah, that would really be terrible for them if he continued to be terrible after, like, that was only the first year of his new deal, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was rough, like, really bad, and kind of, like, you don't understand how, because, again, for a team like Buffalo, who's playing above you? Like, you're getting every opportunity to play to score, but you only put up 23 points. That's pretty bad. And he is one of those guys, right, that did have concussion problems early in his career.
Right.
So you wonder how much that's affected him. But he had a good year the year before. I feel like he'll bounce back. He'll have a good year this year.
Okay.
But we'll see.
I'll buy it.
Okay, I got 2 more.
Okay.
Number 9, I have Philip Forsberg.
Okay.
He had 21 goals last year and 48 points. Both were career lows. He's another player that can really shoot the puck. I feel like he's gonna do okay.
I feel like there's probably 3 or 4 other guys on Nashville that could be in this bounce back category, because
I know
Granlund, Duchesne, Forsberg, they all had like extremely down years.
Yeah.
And I remember reading a quote from David Boyle saying, it's we'd expect 1 or maybe 2 guys to have a down year, but all of them, like he was kind of shocked the way it went.
Yeah, and I think I have the most faith out of that group in Forsberg because he is the youngest. And he's just shown that potential, that like creativity, I guess, during his career. Duchesne, I thought a lot about putting in the next list, but I also kind of agree, like, he's got to play better than last year. Like, he can't be that bad again,
No,
right?
I don't think so.
Anyway, my last one for my bounce back is it went to San Jose again. I tried not to, but I think that Tomas Hertl is going to have a decent year.
Okay.
He had 36 points this year in 48 games. But he had 74 and 77 games this season before.
Oh, yeah.
And I think he'll probably get closer to that pace than the, 36-point pace before. And again, like, I thought here maybe Couture, but at the same time, I think Hertl has more potential at this stage than Couture to bounce back. So.
How much do you think the impact of losing their 2 main centermen, Big Joe and Little Joe, has hurt their wingers?
I think it's hurt them quite a bit, although, like, as an organization, they should have been planning for that a bit earlier, right? Like, Joe Thornton wasn't going to play forever. Joe Pavelski wasn't going to play forever.
Yeah.
But they don't really have anyone to fill those spots yet. So, yeah, we'll see. I think it could be another long year in San Jose. I just don't think they can be as bad as they were last year, like, collectively, I guess.
Yeah. No,
they
like you alluded to before, I think the California teams are going to be fairly weak again this year.
Yeah. Alrighty, so I got one more section.
Okay.
And if you want to comment on any of these or add anyone.
Okay.
So these are the players that I think they've reached their peak. They're going down.
Oh, okay. Unsustainable.
Unsustainable.
Okay.
I try to not just include older players. There are a few.
Okay.
So my first one I have here is John Carlson.
Yeah, I agree. Well, he racked up like
75 points or something.
Like half of his points in October or something like that. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy, and I just think that the Caps aren't going to be as good. I think they're getting older. They're not going to put as many points up, and that's going to affect Carlson. I think he'll still, he'll be a 50-point defenseman for sure, but I don't think he's going to be that level that he was at the beginning of this year again.
Yeah, I would agree.
The second one I have is a bit of a random one, but it's Noel Acciari.
Oh, he played his first year in Florida last year.
Yeah,
okay.
And he had 20 goals. And I just don't see him getting 20 goals again. He also only had 7 assists. So
Cy Young Award.
Yeah, I feel like, he'll probably meet somewhere in the middle. He'll probably get maybe 12 goals, 12 assists. Probably around a 30-point player still, but I don't think he's getting 20 again.
Okay, I can see that. I mean, I liked when they signed him from Boston because I thought he was an underrated player in Boston, but yeah, I agree with you. I don't think he's going to be a continual 20. Maybe we're wrong. They don't have wingers, like we said.
Yeah,
so.
I know. Maybe, and then that's the thing. Some of these I feel almost contradict my arguments before, but we'll see. So 3 is Anthony Duclair, and that's just because I think he's missed out on his opportunity in Ottawa, and I think wherever he signs now, he's not going to get as big a role, and he's not going to score as many points.
No matter where he goes, he's going down.
I don't see him repeating this season. That's what
If he signs a cheap deal in Vancouver, I'm going to remember this.
I feel, yeah. Okay, number 4, I feel like you'll like. I have Jean-Gabriel Pajot. He scored 26 goals last season. That was his career high. I do not see him doing it again in New York.
No.
Yeah, the Islanders don't score a lot of points, and I think that's one of those deals that will come back. Kind of already is biting them, because I think, did they pay him $7 million?
They just signed him after they got him.
Yeah.
And it was, I can't remember.
It's
what it was.
high.
It was pretty big.
And it was maybe it was 7 years, but it's not $7 million.
I think it might have been 6.
Okay.
'Cause
Anyway,
when I was looking at the Islanders one, he was a couple down from the top.
Yeah.
And nobody's making like crazy money there.
no, but it's long term and
It
big
is
money
long-term.
for the Islanders. All right, number 5, I have Jonathan Toews, and this is again one of those kind of aging. Well, he's not super aging; he's 32 or whatever, but he's got to start slowing down at some point. You can already kind of see it in his points totals. He put up 60 points last year in 70 games, but the year before he had 81 points in 82 games, so he's dropped from a point a game.
He had a big drop off the year before that one.
I know, and then he bounced back, so that's why I wasn't 100% sure.
Yeah.
But again, like if you look at Taves, you look at Kane, I would bank on Kane playing better for longer just because of the style of game they play.
Yeah.
So I feel like at some point it's going to catch up to him, and let's say it's going to be this year. This next one you'll also like.
Okay.
I have James Van Riemsdyk.
Oh man, you can only hope.
I said he's lost speed. He didn't look good in the return to play, and I can't see him getting more than 40 points next year.
I can't either because he plays on the 4th line.
Yeah, it's not in their future plans, so
No.
we'll see. Number 7, I have Phil Kessel.
Yeah, you think so.
He dropped from 82 points to 32 or 38. In Arizona last year. Again, Arizona is not a team that scores a lot of points.
Went from an offensive team to a very non-offensive, but still, that's a massive drop.
It's a massive drop, and he just doesn't look that interested in playing. And when Kessel looks like that, it's not good. So
Yeah, and I remember reading before he got traded, I think it was, that there was like conflict between him and Malkin because Malkin was like, cups, and, and he's like,
I don't care, I've got 2,
I've got 2. You know?
Alrighty, so number 8, I have Jonathan Marchessault. And I just think that his points have declined since his first year in Vegas. That first year he played really well, put up a lot of points. It's gone down steadily every year. And I just think that someone is going to pay in Vegas for not really having a bona fide second-line center now that Paul Stastny's gone.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it's Marchessault.
Yeah.
And
And kind of like what we talked about with Lemieux earlier, he kind of seems like a shitty character type guy.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
What was it? Was it in the Return to Play, or was it before the end of the year where he was like getting in fights with people on Instagram?
It was during the return to play.
Yeah, and just and like he had to come out and apologize.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't seem like a good type of player you want in the room, and it'll affect his game.
Yeah, and I also wonder with him too if kind of with that whole like Vegas expansion, because the first year when he played so well, it was that attitude of us against the world. If he was one of those guys that could buy into that, but now has kind of lost his role with the team in that way. Anyway, so yeah, he's one of those ones I think is probably going down. This one's not going to be popular, but I have Blake Wheeler.
I can see that based on age alone.
Age alone and the way he plays. So it's the two, and usually those players have dramatic decreases at some point. He is 34, so maybe he has one more good year.
Yeah.
But I think this year and next year there's going to be a big drop off.
Mm-hmm.
Number 10, coming back to what we talked about with Montreal, I have Philip Deneau.
Okay.
Because I think he's going to get passed by both Kotkaniemi and Suzuki.
Me too.
And
I think he'll be their third line center.
He'll be their third line center. I think they're probably going to try to move him because they don't need him as their third line center. And yeah, I think he's going to drop off. Although this year I think he had just under 50 points. So I don't know how much the drop off is going to be, but I don't think he's going to be getting opportunities to score.
No, I don't think so too. I think they see him like he got some Selke votes I think this year.
Yep.
And I think they're gonna really try to hammer home being that third line's shutdown defensive center, and it'll hurt his points totals. Yeah. No, I agree.
So yeah, anyway, that was our fun little
That was something.
Hockey Talk on the Rock episode.
Yeah, it was quite a bit to cover considering the lack of news. We certainly made it work for us. So
try and talk about some hockey stuff.
hopefully the news comes out and we can rip on or praise the jerseys next time we do, because they'll be out next week.
Rank
and,
the jerseys or something.
Hopefully they have a little more news about the return to play and everything like that. So
yeah.
Until next time.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thank you.
Episode 10. Laura, Keith.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Peace out.